Hello everybody, welcome back to the Truncata Studios, and today's video may end up being a little longer than usual. This may end up being a 30 plus minute weather forecast, just to how active the tropics are. We have several areas of interest and multiple tropical storms active, and we also have severe weather potential and flooding potential, so this will be a bit of a longer video than usual, but I would recommend watching this whole thing because there is going to be a lot of important information in here. So anyways, let's get straight into today's video. So first I'm going to start off with a severe weather threat. Today we have a large slight risk of severe weather across much of northern South Dakota and southern into eastern North Dakota and northwestern Minnesota, and small slivers of northeastern Wyoming and southeastern Montana, with another slight risk including parts of Maryland, southern Pennsylvania, and the Washington D.C. area. Our tornado risk for today is relatively low, although we do have a 2% tornado risk in eastern North Dakota, northwestern Minnesota, and north central South Dakota, and another one in central Illinois and northern Indiana, and a sliver of southwestern Michigan where you could see a tornado or two today. Our wind threat is decently high. We have a 15% wind threat in both of our slight risk areas, where we could see some scatter damaging wind gusts, possibly reaching 70 miles an hour. And even in the 5% risk areas, we could still see that threat. And then our hail risk is relatively low, but we do have a 5% hail risk from northwestern Minnesota and much of eastern and central North Dakota through northern South Dakota and parts of southeastern Montana and northeastern Wyoming, where you can see some hailstones, possibly around quarter size today in those areas. Now, looking at tomorrow's outlook, we have a slight risk of severe weather for much of eastern Minnesota, northwestern Wisconsin, and parts of the western part of the upper peninsula of Michigan. Our tornado risk for tomorrow is low, but we could still see a couple of tornadoes anywhere from eastern South Dakota through much of Minnesota, northwestern Wisconsin, and the western part of the upper peninsula of Michigan. Our wind threat for tomorrow, we have a 15% wind threat across northeastern and central Minnesota, northwestern Wisconsin, the western part of the upper peninsula of Michigan, where we can see some scatter damaging wind gusts reaching 65 to 70 miles an hour tomorrow. And then we have a 5% wind threat across much of the mid-Atlantic into portions of the northeastern United States. And our hail threat to tomorrow is relatively low. We could see some isolated, marginally severe hail from parts of eastern South Dakota all the way through the western parts of the upper peninsula of Michigan, all the way to the Canadian border with Minnesota. And finally, for day 3 outlook, we have a large marginal risk from southern and to central Montana through South Dakota all the way into western Wisconsin, where you could see the potential for some scattered severe thunderstorms. We have mentioned that they may upgrade to a slight risk in the future with better model runs and more high resolution models coming into play for Monday. And here's your probabilities, 5% for that whole area. Now for day 4-3 outlook, we don't have anything outlined as of now, but we still could see some areas outlined in future outlooks, especially with the day 3 to 2 outlook range, where you will have more confidence in whether there will be severe weather or not on those days. Next, here's our excessive rainfall outlooks. We have a slight risk of excessive rainfall from northern Missouri and southeastern Iowa through northern and central Illinois, northern Indiana, northwestern Ohio, and a sliver of southwestern Michigan, and then a slight risk of flash flooding across much of western and central Pennsylvania, and another slight risk of flash flooding across portions of central and eastern New York. We also have a marginal risk of flash flooding across much of the southern United States, from the western Florida Panhandle through eastern Texas, and then another marginal risk across northeastern and north central South Dakota, eastern North Dakota, and much of northern Minnesota, and then another marginal risk of excessive rainfall for northeastern California, northwestern northern Nevada, and southeastern Oregon, and southwestern Idaho. For tomorrow, we have a slight risk of flash flooding from parts of northeastern Minnesota, another one for southeastern Ohio, much of northern West Virginia, and then another slight risk from portions of northeastern Maryland and northern Delaware through southeastern New York and western Massachusetts. We also have a marginal risk of flash flooding across southeastern Arizona and much of New Mexico for tomorrow. And then finally, for the day 3 outlook, we have a marginal risk of flash flooding from eastern Montana through much of South Dakota, through northern Iowa and southern Minnesota, and then another marginal risk of excessive rainfall for southeastern Arizona, southwestern and central New Mexico, and central Colorado. Now looking at our National Hurricane Center outlooks, nothing for the Atlantic, although we could see something outlying within the next few days, as we could have a tropical wave develop into a brief and weak system as it moves further west through the main development region. The Eastern Pacific is somewhat active. We have this one area of interest here with a 40% chance of formation. Ignore the area. That's the wrong area. It's supposed to be number 2. It's number 2, but this is also number 2 on here. But anyway, 0% in 48 hours, 40% in 7 days for development. I wouldn't be surprised if this becomes a hurricane or a high-end tropical storm, and I'll explain to you soon when we look at the models in a few minutes. Look at the Central Pacific Ocean. We have a very active pattern here. We have this first area of interest, disturbance 2, which could develop over the next several days, and it could become a tropical storm or tropical depression. And then here's area of interest 2. This is the main area. The reason they have this higher development is because it's not producing a lot of cloud cover. If it's had more significant cloud cover, this could be near tropical depression status, but for now it's producing limited cloud cover, although this could change and it could develop in several days, over the next several days, as it moves to the northwest. Looking at the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, here's what we have active right now. We have Invest 91W, which will likely not form. And then we have 2 systems active. We have Croza and Kome. So first, here's Croza. This is the latest update. Right now it's at 55 knots or 65 miles an hour expected to briefly become a typhoon tomorrow at 75 miles an hour before beginning back to a high-end tropical storm before re-strengthening and becoming a 85 mile an hour Category 1 typhoon. And then here is Kome, which somehow still exists. But here it's expected to actually strengthen over the next couple of days and become a 45 miles an hour tropical storm before it makes landfall and weakens as it impacts area near Shanghai, where we could see some flooding there, so make sure you're prepared for that. Now looking at the current satellite imagery, here's Croza. This appears to be strengthening right now. I wouldn't be surprised if this is around 70 miles an hour, even a all-in typhoon at this point. Here's Kome, producing limited but decent thunderstorm activity and starting to redevelop there. It's not really moving much. Francisco's pretty much dead at this point. Here's 90C, the inverse of the Central Pacific Ocean. It's not looking too good right now, but you can obviously see there's some better cloud cover starting near the center, which this could be a sign of intensification. And 91W, you can see it's not very organized. This has a low chance of forming. I doubt this will form at this point, because this isn't really in a favorable environment for development, if I'm correct. Now let's look at the models. We'll just look at the hurricane models. So here's Croza. So here's what it looks like around now, and this actually has a little stronger than it actually is, which has it being a near major hurricane in around 12 hours, and then this has it becoming a major typhoon. This has it becoming near Category 4 status, so that wouldn't be great. And then it has it being a major hurricane all the way, where is that, by Japan? There, which I doubt that will happen. And let's look at Kome, which you can see it has it becoming pretty significant. It has it becoming a typhoon, and it has it paralleling the coast and continuing to maintain its strength and strengthening a little bit even. Now we're going to look at 90C. You can see that it has this becoming a decent tropical storm as it moves south of Hawaii, and it has this continuing to move west. Now let's look at the HMON, which only has this system here, 90C. But as you can see, it has it becoming a decent tropical storm before it weakens as it approaches the international date line. There it appears as it moves farther west through the Central Pacific Ocean. And let's look at the HAFSA. This is Croza, and this actually does have it being a little stronger than it actually is. Although this does not have it becoming a major typhoon, we actually scratch that, because here it's have it being a major typhoon at around 35 north, which is unusual, but it's not impossible. Now we'll look at Kome, which you can see this also has becoming a typhoon, but this one actually makes landfall much quicker, and it dissipates really quickly. Although it does have it staying a low pressure system, and having it maybe even start to redevelop there as it moves back out into the waters, which would be interesting to see if it happens. Now this is 90C. As you can see here, it has it doing something here. It has it going really low in latitude. It like dives south for some reason. That's strange. And then we will look at halves B, which doesn't really have any system other than this, and this doesn't have it becoming much other than maybe a brief tropical storm, which is interesting because all the other models would really disagree with the HAFSB in general. Now let's look at the GFS. First we'll look at Croza. The thing is, it seems all the models have Croza already being a typhoon, and the GFS wants it to become a major typhoon very soon. It has actually becoming a near Category 4 major typhoon, which would be interesting to see if that happens. Now here's Kome. Now this has it becoming a typhoon briefly, and then it shrinks a lot from here to here. It like loses half of its size, and then it just has it stowing over land before it gets swallowed up into a new low pressure system that tries to develop there. I wonder if that has anything to do with 91W, though I doubt that's what it is. And then here's this system, 90C. It has it becoming a hurricane there briefly before it really weakens into a remnant low and gets swallowed into what's probably an extratropical system there. And I'm not even gonna bother looking at the Euro because that's probably gonna underestimate the pressure of the wind. So anyways, that's all I have for today's video. Some severe weather is possible over coming days, along with the threats of flash flooding, and we could see several tropical storms develop over the next couple of weeks in the North Atlantic and the Eastern and Central Pacific Oceans, as well as the Western Pacific Ocean. And that is a lot. So we will have updates when they feel like it's necessary, and I may even do some more emergency updates if something major changes from a weather forecast I do, like the afternoon or morning. Goodbye.